12! My word, what a crazy weekend it has been for professional wrestling. I mean, seriously, no matter what your particular taste is, you really should have been able to find something that tickled your taste buds. Don't know what that means, but hey, it sounded good. And now we bring it to the close with the hottest event of the summer in the Thunderdome, also known as WWE SummerSlam. Now look, there is a hell of a lot to talk about, so I will just say my name is Simon Miller, this is WhatCulture Wrestling, and let's up those downs for SummerSlam 2020. Alright, look, I cannot lie. When I did see that WWE had moved Apollo Crews versus MVP, aka MVP, for the United States Championship to the pre-show, I got a little bit sad. Like, it doesn't matter what they say or it doesn't matter what they do, it's long been pegged as just something you don't really need to care about. So when this got shifted over it, I was a little bit disappointed. Like when you wake up on Christmas Day and you open your presents and you got a flipping Sega Mega Drive when all you wanted was a Super Nintendo. Down. The match was fine though, again, because where it had been placed, it didn't go that long, but MVP got a little bit of offense in and Apollo Crews came back, hit him with the spinning powerbomb, got the 1-2-3, he's still your champion. The Hurt Business ran in, but Apollo Crews ran away because he's faster, and that was it. It's just so weird because the amount of time that was actually put into this story, and then we kind of just paid it off on the pre-show. You tell me. SummerSlam then got going properly. Even I'm doing it, going properly. I'm just crapping all over the pre-show. I just want to point out, I love the Thunderdome. I really do. Now looking back, it really makes the Performance Center feel claustrophobic and all horrible. And yes, the audio still needs work, like fans react to strange things. But again, it is a work in progress, and this is okay. I'm a big fan of the Thunderdome. And WWE must love that as well, because now they can control the noise. They're not gonna get any unexpected booing, which probably explains the return that happened at the end of the show. What a moron. First up was Bayley versus Asuka for the SmackDown Women's Champion, and this was fair boo even before they locked up, because Bayley came down during her entrance looking totally miserable, probably because she was trying to accept that now she's got this stupid Sega console and she just won a Nintendo, and Asuka cut a promo going, "You won't see it coming," you know, that stupid SummerSlam tagline, but then went, "What you will see is me with both titles." That is something a 4-year-old would say, but she pulled it off so well. It's all getting it up. They were properly aggressive right out of the gates too, unlike someone being improperly aggressive or something. I don't know what I'm talking about. And it all built to Asuka giving Bayley a DDT as she jumped off the apron and smashing her head into the floor. Now, yes, fair enough, that probably would have hurt Asuka just as much, but it looked damn great. Even after that, Bales was somehow managing to get back in control, and when she hit the Bayley to belly, I actually bet and thought she was gonna win, but Asuka kicked out on the last second. Now, near falls in WWE without the ooh reaction do really suffer, but once more, hopefully WWE is working on that as we speak. But a plus side from the Thunderdome is that when Bayley locked in a lug lock, obviously, because that's what you would do, you could see some of the digital faces going, "Get up, Asuka, come on, get up." I thought that was a nice little touch. And then I just collapsed. Shib, just thinking about it and reliving it made it happen again. But of course, I should have known, we all should have known, it ended after the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment, the surprise roll-up. The first match on SummerSlam, and they giving me surprise roll-ups. Couldn't we at least have waited till match number 2? Now look, later on I'm going to explain my feelings behind this, because some people still don't get it, it flies over their head, I don't understand why. But bring it down, there's the board, that is number 65. It happened after Asuka went to give the hip attack to Bayley, but she moved out the way and Asuka careered right into Sasha Banks. And in all this fracas, obviously there was a distraction. I lost my signs, I've already gone back on my word, but I lost it. And yes, it meant Bayley was able to give her the surprise roll-up and get the 1-2-3. So that's it now, that's just what WWE does. You get a distraction, you get a roll-up, and 100% of the time, you will win. And look, yes, it would have been fine here too, as it would have been fine here later, but we've already mentioned the number 65 and we started this in March 2020, so let's do some wrestling maths. If you divide all that up, it comes to 10.8 a month, so we'll round it up to 11. And let's just say, for the sake of whatever, that you get around about 9 WWE shows a month, because you get 4 Raws, 4 SmackDowns, and 1 pay-per-view. Then if you take your head and throw it into a number bucket, you will realize that that means, when you all put it together, we are getting more than 1 per event. That is ridiculous. Down. Rey Mysterio was then in the back reminding us that he is the worst family member of all time. Because not only had he brought his wife to the arena, I mean, Rey, look what it's done to your son. Why would you bring more people here? But when Dominic said to him, look, Dad, no matter what happens later, I don't want you to intervene, Rey Mysterio went, yeah, cool. All right, son. Whatever happens, I'll just watch on with one eye. So let's say that Seth later on was going to try and rip his arm off. Rey would have had to have stood there and gone, well, you know, I did give my word. Rey Mysterio, you are a terrible father. The Raw Tag Team titles are up next, and as the Street Profits were making their entrance, a bunch of red cups fell from the ceiling. Now, I appreciated the idea, and I appreciated the effort, but it kind of did look like a garbage truck in the sky had just got rid of its load. Wasn't that great? Tom Phillips also told us that this match was going to be really personal, and I started laughing because Tom, yes, you don't need to remind us of that. Zelina Vega tried to kill Montez Ford. That's pretty personal, but ultimately it was the Street Profits taking on Angel Garza and Andrade, and it was fine. It was okay. It's enough. Montez Ford accidentally knocked Zelina off the apron at one point, and Andrade was so distraught about this, he went to check on her, and that left Angel Garza all by himself. He got beat up. Montez Ford then hit the most just incredible frog splash you've ever seen in your life. He kind of turned in midair, and nobody else should be doing that move when Montez Ford is in the company. But they got the 1, 2, 3, and the Street Profits are still your champions. That's right, your champions. Apparently, you're in control. Really, the most interesting part of all of this is that Kevin Owens was on commentary throughout, and he told us that tomorrow night on Raw, or tonight if you're watching this on Monday, he shall be having a Kevin Owens show, and his guest is gonna be the returning Aleister Black. Now, I'm probably pulling at straws here, but hands up if you kind of enjoy Aleister Black going heel. The hand is staying up. We shall see. Bayley and Sasha Banks were then being interviewed in the back in some kind of makeshift ring. I have no idea what that was about, but they were being their usual asshole selves and jumping around because Bayley was really happy that she won, and Sasha Banks is already happy because she will win later. At one point, Bayley was literally, brushing up the place because it's going to be a clean sweep. These two are just the best dicks in the entire world. A bunch of WWE ice creams were then talking about each other. We rarely mention the adverts on the WWE Network when we are checking out pay-per-views, but I felt like this one was important. Ice creams having a conversation. Okay. It was then Mandy Rose versus Sonya Deville, and my word did I get this wrong on SmackDown Ups and Downs, because I thought, basically as I'm an idiot, that the no DQ and loser leaves WWE stipulation had been shoved in there, as well as the whole hair versus hair thing. But of course, in hindsight, that wasn't the case at all. We changed it, and I understand why. If you don't know what Sonya Deville is going on right now in her non-wrestling life, you can just do a quick Google. And that's why all of this gets a free pass. They've clearly had to change things at the last minute. Some things are more important than wrestling. I feel even silly giving it an up or down, but we're just going to give it an up. It was okay. They kicked the crap out of each other early on too, and Mandy Rose gave Sonya Deville a suplex onto the aisleway. I think sometimes we forget how much it would hurt, but Sonya kind of got pissed off with that, and she hit her with a chair. That would hurt too. And that was about it really. It was short and sweet. Mandy Rose hit a couple of knees, she hit a face buster, she hit one more knee, and she pinned Sonya Deville, so it's bye-bye Sonya, and of course we'll see her soon. But again, bigger picture here, people, it really doesn't matter. What was odd is that afterward, Otis came out with his Money in the Bank briefcase, and he tried to cash it in on Sonya Deville, as the referees were like, no, Otis, what are you doing, you absolute steak-eating buffoon? That's not how this worked. Also a lie. It didn't happen. He just celebrated with Mandy Rose, his beau, his girlfriend, did the caterpillar, and then Mandy Rose tried to do it, and she couldn't because she sucks. I did feel like I was kind of in a weird dream during that celebration phase, but whatever. Again, I think I've explained myself well enough, and let's just send a lot of thoughts and nice positive things to Sonya Deville. Also, don't be a creepy weirdo. It's really easy. I was then massively excited because it was Seth Rollins versus Dominic Mysterio, and it did what every single good wrestling match should do. I was covered in intrigue because I didn't know what direction it was going to go in. And then Seth Rollins came out as if Barney the dinosaur had thrown up over him. Honestly, I've never seen gear more purple, but I respected it and I liked it because Seth always makes a big deal of his attire at SummerSlam. He's made it his own, so good for you. I also noticed, this may have been happening for weeks, but I hadn't seen it up to this point, that on Murphy's tights, he now has Disciple written down them. So he's been branded like cattle. Right, before we do get into this too, I do have to say, whoever came up with the idea that Seth Rollins and Dominic should have a proper wrestling match to kick this things off, well, you may be a little bit nuts. Think of everything these two have done to each other leading up to this point. I mean, Dominic's dad, Rey Mysterio, you may have heard of him, had his eye ripped out of his skull, and you had all that kendo stick stuff, and to kick things off, they did a lockup and some arm drags. That doesn't make any sense. Dominic should have run at him and tried to, I don't know, rip Seth's nose off, like, you took my dad's eye, I'll take your nose, and ate it and be like, ha ha, who crazy now? And the answer would have been him. I mean, Seth even offered his head to Dominic at one point, and what did Dom do? He put on a headlock. Don't put on a headlock, knee him, break his jaw, smash his face. Or, you know, take your thumb and ram it right in his eye, like a maniac. When it sped up as Dominic started to fly around the place, as Rey Mysterio, who was looking on, shed a tear from his single eye, it was far, far better, but I do have to say, it took too long to get nuts. Remember Michael Keaton in the Batman movie? You wanna get nuts? Let get nuts. Well, we didn't pertain to that piece of advice, so that bit gets a down. However, as soon as all this nonsense had pissed Seth Rollins off, he told Murphy to pass him a stick, and that line made me laugh. Imagine it was from a tree. He just started smacking you with it. You just look at him like, Seth, this doesn't hurt at all. But then it did get a bit crazy, and also, Dominic Mysterio, ladies and gentlemen, think of the pressure on his shoulders. Because not only was it his first ever match at SummerSlam, but he's the flipping kid of one of the best wrestlers ever, and I thought he went out there and he did a damn good job. Even I was proud, so think of Ray today. He must be proud as punch, so the rest of it is good enough. Rollins also started to lay lumps into Dominic again with that kendo stick as Rey Mysterio just watched on, and again, Ray, you're such a crappy father. I was like, no one cares about the fact you gave him his word. Get in there and protect your kid. But he didn't. It's all like, arr, because you know his eye. Rollins was then going to go for a super curb stop after jumping off a chair, but Dominic was able to reverse that and throw Seth into it as well. And when they were both on the top ropes and a table had been set up, Dominic Mysterio basically gave him a leg sweep from the top through the wood, and I was going crazy. I haven't rooted for someone this intensely for so long. I really wanted Dominic to win, even though after the fact I would have to have dealt with the sheer madness of the internet going, I can't believe Dominic Mysterio beat Seth Rollins. You know what? You would have been right. I got carried away. Little Mysterio then hit a tornado DDT, and that got a really near fall, and that's when he got a kendo stick and he started to wail on Seth Rollins. This is where WWE made a massive mistake with their audio, because they were piping in like polite clapping as if we were in some posh bar and somebody was playing piano, and that really was very, very distracting. Unfortunately, he couldn't follow up on any of this because he's a rookie and Seth Rollins the experienced guy. However, Dominic did kick out of his top rope superplex Falcon Arrow thingy, and I thought that was a massive deal. It was also a shame for little Dommy boy, because then Seth had the stick again, and honestly, good grief, he hit him so hard, even I was going, ow, ow, ow. If somebody had seen me, I would have gone to jail. Dominic kept getting little things here and there like a frog splash, which once again I bought as the finish. But every time Seth was on top, again, the stick shots were just brutal. He gave him a powerbomb, which I thought had broken Dominic's neck. He hit so hard. No wonder Ray was losing on the outside. His son was getting his ass whipped. Rollins then decided that Dominic's clothing was some kind of protective barrier, so he ripped that off and again just continued to waylay him with this stupid stick when Mrs. Mysterio came out the top of the rampway and was like, right, that's it, somebody's got to get involved. But then Ray ran to her and was like, no, even if he dies, he dies. We've already decided on this. But this was like a moth to the flame, because Rollins spied this from a mile off and was like, well, I've wrecked the dad, I wrecked the son, why don't I just do the same to the wife? Ah, shit. This was like spinach to Popeye though, because all of a sudden Dominic went mad at the thought of his mum being beaten up by Seth Rollins. Once again, he was back on the attack, even though seconds earlier, Murphy was trying to remove his eye with those damn steel stairs again. So he got over that very quickly. Unfortunately, his inexperience did show through because he went for another frog splash. Seth Rollins got his knees up, hit the curb stomp, and he beat Dominic Mysterio for the 1, 2, 3. And I was genuinely upset in the way that you're meant to be upset. The really cool bit is that before this, Seth Rollins and Murphy had handcuffed Rey Mysterio to the rope. So even though he was desperately trying to help his kid, he couldn't. And that's the kind of emotion I want in my pro wrestling. I could really feel Rey Mysterio's pain Well, not the eye thing. I've never had my eye removed. But again, spiritually, I totally got it. And sure, you don't ever need to watch this again, but I really do think Dominic Mysterio did great here. And just as a fan on his couch rooting somebody on, both from a kayfabe and non-kayfabe point of view, it's a couple of thumbs. Maybe went a little bit too long, but who cares? Asuka was back out then. She getting up. Was taking on Sasha Banks, of course, for the Raw Women's Championship, and WWE just kept this nice and simple, and they did exactly what we thought they were gonna do, but sometimes that is what you need to do. It was a very polite, another one, round of applause. Play that piano, ding ding ding. But after Bayley had been smacked so hard by Asuka, she kind of backed off like a wounded animal. Asuka locked in the Asuka lock, and with no friends, Sasha Banks had no choice but to tap out. As the commentators went, wait a minute, earlier in the day, Sasha Banks was willing to help her best friend, but here, Bayley didn't do the same. And they weren't wrong, they were right. Banks is no longer your Raw Women's Champion, Asuka is, and you just know something's about to implode. Now it is kind of hilarious how every time Sasha Banks wins a championship, she can't hold it for more than 7 seconds before she loses it, but I'm going to assume that when she does beat Bayley for the SmackDown one, she will have a lengthy reign. All of this just worked so well. I'm so pleased for Asuka. She's just wonderful. And one day she is going to be the Empress, and I bet she makes the world a better place. It was then time for Randy Orton versus Drew McIntyre with the WWE title on the line, and this was just excellent. It had a big time feel. You didn't know who was going to win and who was going to lose, and Drew and Randy treated this like the majestic spectacle that it was. They were hard hitting and they kicked each other's ass. I just loved it. I loved every second. I was on the edge of my seat going, oh, what are we gonna do? And I would have been happy either way. It is getting it up. I really do mean that too. Like, I think at one time both guys had blood pouring from their head, and there was this really cool spot where, like, Drew McIntyre had been put in the Tree of Woe position and Randy Orton was perched on the top rope, and then like Jaws was a shark, so he wouldn't have been able to do this, but whatever. Like Jaws, he kind of did a sit-up, grabbed Randy, and chucked him across the ring. He is such a badass WWE champion. The RKO also kept getting teased the entire time, but McIntyre was too smart for that and he got out of the way. And Randy realized this, so when Drew was in the right position, he went, all right, I'm not gonna do that. And he took a few steps back and he was gonna pump Drew McIntyre so hard in the face, his skin was gonna come off. But McIntyre clearly had this scouted because he reversed that into a powerbomb, and that was also absolutely brilliant. And then he went for the Claymore kick, and he missed. And I was like, oh no, what's going to happen now? Well, Randy went for the RKO, but Drew McIntyre had clearly been studying a lot of wrestling tape because he turned it into the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment, the surprise roll-up, or in this case, the surprise backslide. And I wrote a poem. WWE loves to do roll-ups. They happen all the time. And if this keeps on occurring, I'll start to cry, but it's fine. So let us not pretend otherwise. It's as clear as a plane that glides, because you can call it what you want, but it's the same as a backslide. The key is in the surprise. A wrestler is always stunned, which is why when I see it, I go and get a gun. Whoa, that's way too much. I didn't mean that. Let's take a few steps back. But the point is this. For those people saying, well, Simon, a backslide is different from a surprise roll-up. Yes, you are correct. But that's also like saying a punch is different from a kick. Ultimately, they're all in the same universe. You're still hitting someone, but getting back on track. This was actually the perfect finish. Drew McIntyre outthought Randy Orton, and Randy Orton is the heel, which is what should go down. But it ties into the bigger issue that WWE simply does this too much. So when they should do it, and when they could do it, and when they would do it, it doesn't have the same impact or gravitas as it would have done otherwise. Don't forget, we'd already seen an earlier one on this show, and at that point, I gave you some wrestling maths. So it hurts me to do this. It does, but I'm a man of my word, and I said that I would, and it's not fair on Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton. They smashed it out the park here, and that wasn't the main event, but it was one of my favorite main events I've seen in months. But again, I said I would, so I would. It gets a down. Please stop doing surprise roll-ups or whatever variations, WWE. Look at the situation you're putting us in. It's not right. Also, bring down the board. I've got to do that too. That's number 66. 66. Is that the number of the beast? I can't even remember. No, that was 666. We'll probably be at that point before the end of 2020. Again, though, absolutely excellent WWE title match. Then we had a video saying Keith Lee is coming to Raw. And I did a little dance of joy because I was really upset after NXT. I don't know why, I'm just a fan of Keith Lee. I thought he got dealt a bad hand, but if he is going to be brought up to the main roster and go on some kind of tear, well, that is a wonderful light at the end of the tunnel. And then bravo all around. The Fiend versus Braun Strowman. It didn't go very long. They kicked the absolute crap out of each other, and there was a surprise ending. This is one of the easiest ups I've given in ages. There's an up. I was laughing straight away because the Fiend gave Braun Strowman 2 of those neck-breaking moves, and I can't help it. I just go, how is he still alive? He just got murdered. But I do enjoy the fact that no matter how big you are, how small you are, the Fiend will always use his magic powers to destroy you. Because obviously Strowman is the monster among men, but not even he could contain the power of the Fiend. When he went and grabbed that toolbox, I was a little bit confused because I was like, WWE, do not remind anybody about that Hell in a Cell debacle. But luckily it did have a payoff later on, so I let it go. There was also a Falls Count Anywhere match, which I think was announced on Talking Smack. It was a little bit out of nowhere at first, but when they were brawling to the back and the Fiend was just chucking Braun Strowman into walls and giving him a Sister Abigail on the floor, I think it was, well, you know, it had the hard-hitting nature that it needed to. Both of these guys had just stored up a bunch of finishes like they were playing WWE 2K, and they kept kicking out of them. But I've become immune to that now. It's just what WWE does with the Fiend and with Braun Strowman. Clearly confused about what to do though, Braun went to the toolbox and he got out a box cutter, which is essentially a knife. And I'll be honest with you, I will let you into my own life. I genuinely thought he was going to stab Bray Wyatt. That's what I thought. I said to myself, oh my gosh, he's gonna kill him. And it didn't actually seem that far-fetched because think of the swamp match. He had been drowned. He wanted to get his revenge. As it turned out, he wasn't going to do that, but he did start cutting away at the ring canvas. And he had done this to expose the boards underneath because he was then going to slam the Fiend into that, but he took too long. And after around about 58,790 Sister Abigails, the Fiend pinned Braun Strowman and basically kinda beat him clean. He is once again your Universal Champ. And yeah, this was actually alright, but it was the aftermath that sent it through the roof because you never saw it coming, and that tagline is now doubly stupid because somebody clearly did see it coming because Roman Reigns must have told somebody he was coming. Anyway, Roman Reigns did make his return to WWE and he had a shirt that said wreck everyone and leave, so he wrecked everyone. Well, he didn't leave, he stood there with the belt, but this was so damn cool. He kicked the Fiend's ass, he kicked Braun Strowman's ass, he was like talking smack the whole time, oh the program's back and so is Roman, and he felt so much more awesome than he ever has done. Now, if we get rid of the bulletproof vest or whatever you want to call it and change his music and present Roman as the brand new Reigns, I think this is a character we need in the WWE right now. And yes, he's got new teeth. Somebody did up his gnashes. Good for him. I don't know why we focus on these things. He is just a human being, and if he's got the money to do it, good for him. More importantly, he came across like a flubbing badass. This was a massive ending to SummerSlam, which is meant to be a massive show, and I truly did love it. It made me feel all excited, and I want to see Raw, and I want to see SmackDown. Slightly worried at Payback that he's actually going to have a match with these two and win the title, and that will be bad because it's exactly what WWE was doing before, but I'm not going to get ahead of myself. It's thumbs all around. What a way to end the hottest event of the summer. Just to bring that excitement down though, where was Retribution? Like, if I'm Retribution and I'm launching a war against WWE and I know they've got their biggest show so far ever since I have made myself known, why would I go, guys, don't worry about it, guys. We'll give them a free pass this evening. We'll get them on Raw. We're going to flick the lights on and off again. That really was a little bit of a plot hole. We should have done something storyline-wise. Just got to get it down. But otherwise, I think WWE smashed it out of the park. This was a really entertaining and a really enjoyable SummerSlam, and I'm giving it an overall up. And I truly mean it. Now, don't forget to leave a comment below and let us know what you thought about last night's SummerSlam. Like the video, share the video, subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling, and go and watch all the ups and downs I did yesterday because, you know, I'd appreciate it. Ups and downs for NXT, ups and downs for AEW. It's all waiting for you there. Then go over to WhatCulture.com, read yourself some articles, follow WhatCulture on Twitter, WhatCulture WWE, and yeah, do what I just said. Watch the videos. My name is Sam from WhatCulture. Thank you for joining me for this weird, crazy, wacky world of professional wrestling this weekend. But I'll see you tomorrow when we up those downs for Raw.